A few days ago, I decided to speak up on my Instagram story about something that affected me very personally: the copying of my unique content without consent by a larger creator who chose to not credit me. As my story spread through the online sleep token community and people began voicing their opinions on the situation, I started to notice a trend with a lot of the comments. A significant amount of people hold the belief that because myself and the other creator cosplay as the same character, there is no ability for either of us, nor any of our fellow niche cosplayers, to create unique or original content, and therefore we do not own our content, and it is all freely up for grabs by anyone in that niche of cosplay to use without crediting. As I sat reading these comments, it sparked a thought that this belief goes so much deeper than my own situation, or even the online sleep token community. Because following this train of logic, that would mean that any cosplayer of any specific character in the entire cosplay community wouldn't have unique or original content, or own any of it either. And due to that overlap with the fan art community, I began to wonder if this same train of thought could apply to these artists, since they don't own the characters they're painting or drawing. And does this mean nothing they paint or draw is unique and every artist of a specific fandom will naturally create the same things? It's a slippery slope, and, well, where does it end? I decided to spend my last day at MagFest polling random people attending and asking them the questions. Do cosplayers in the same niche have the ability to make unique and original content? And do they own their own content? Should creators who get inspired by other creators reach out and ask for consent to use their content for inspiration? And should they credit them publicly? Should larger creators take special care to credit smaller ones for using their ideas in order to lift up others in their community and on their social media pages? I want to share this with you as a way to start a conversation, one that I feel is very important to have because it crosses and overlaps many communities across all social media platforms.
There's been some controversy kind of going around the community right now about the fact that cosplayers, if they're cosplaying a particular figure, do not own their content that they create. Do you feel like there is a reason in particular that would apply, or do you kind of feel like that's wrong? Like, kind of where do you stand on that idea of cosplayers owning their own original content that they create for the sense of being unique in their cosplay space?
Well, that's such an interesting thing. So I've heard this with fan art before, but I haven't heard about this happening with cosplayers. But I've been cosplaying for a long time. I'm not cosplaying today. But it's weird to think that cosplayers don't own the rights to their own image, because at the end of the day, it's not just, a character that is owned by someone else. It's someone who is actually dressed as a character, like there's a person.
Right.
So the idea that you wouldn't have rights to your own image is really weird.
So the fact that I'm cosplaying too right now is a whole thing. So if I make a video dressed as two, do I own the rights to that format of the video? And if somebody was to say copy that video, would that be infringing on my rights as a creator?
It'd be weird for people to copy your content directly. I know some people do it, and it's really weird, but
basically, the point I'm making is cosplayers do kind of get their own space, and they should be able to define it themselves, which is unique to them as a creator.
yeah.
If a cosplayer is dressed as somebody like me, like Two from Sleep Token, and they create content on their page, does that content belong to them as a creator? Or does it not matter and everybody can do whatever they want because no one's original? Because if you're just copying somebody,
that's a good question.
Is that the question, right? So as a creator, do we own the rights to the content that we create, put time, money, and effort into? Or is it just, it doesn't matter what you do because you're dressed like somebody else, so everybody can take your stuff. It doesn't matter. You have no ownership to your creative content.
Yeah. That's actually a really good question, and I wish more people actually talked about this. I do think that, for example, if you were to do content as to, say on TikTok or something, if you are doing something as to, I feel like anyone can do anything as to.
Right.
But if you are doing a specific type of content and everyone knows, what's your name?
DOS.
Okay, if you're doing that content, right, and someone else is doing the exact same thing as you, but dressed as two. You can be dressed as two, but you should be able to give like credit to you because they took inspiration from your content and made something different, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that
So
makes
I
a lot
feel
of
like
sense.
anyone can dress up as these people, but if you are specifically gaining interest or specifically gaining like ideas from the content of a person doing the same thing as you have to give credit where credit is due, you know?
Right.
Especially if you're putting blood, sweat, tears, time, money, everything into it.
And I think the other thing too is to respect other creators
Yeah.
and really, you know, if you're gonna appreciate other creators, like
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that they put that time and effort
Absolutely.
in, and don't copy their stuff.
Yeah.
Don't take it without permission.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people really kind of overlook when it comes to, oh, hey, you're just cosplaying Sleep Token.
There's
oh, hey.
there's layers, there's levels, and I
Right.
feel like there's a certain level of respect that goes with it as well.
Because
exactly
everybody
as you
can
said.
cosplay Sleep Token.
Yeah.
Everybody can cosplay and sing and do whatever they want or dance or
Mhm.
whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But it comes down to respecting individual creators and their
Yeah.
individual niches that they put on that
Absolutely.
cosplay, right?
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Thank you so much. I
For
appreciate
sure.
it.
Of course.
If a creator like myself dresses up like a character from a fandom, a game, a band, whatever, if that creator creates original content with this outfit on, is the content the creator's content, or does it not matter and anybody can just kind of copy everything because there is no ownership because you don't own it anyway?
Oh, so it's an original creation by the.
Yeah,
it's a-
something to keep a creator in their niche, to separate
Oh.
creator from creator.
Right. Oh, okay. So I think if they're trying to be niche and be separate, I don't think others should be trying to replicate it. It should be only for that that original creator. That way, just I feel like that should be okay.
So if I cosplay a character dressed as somebody from Sleep Token and I make this really unique video and somebody says, hey, I like that video, and then copies my video, is that infringing on my creative rights?
It just seems like
It seems scummy to me
it seems
personally,
both
but
scummy and like telephone, like playing telephone with who owns what and what owns who, and seems like a lot.
And
It seems
if
like
that-
it's very convoluted at this point. Just let people do what they want.
right?
That's honestly what I feel like. Like I'm an artist, so I do fan art. That's
Oh,
honestly
perfect.
some of the only thing that really gets
So
you
if I
any
copied
attention.
your fan art, like if I
If you
took
copied
your,
my exact pose, like the feel of it, like if you literally copied it, like by tracing it
Yes.
and then adding the colors, that's a problem.
so if I
you-
did that,
but,
how would you feel?
Problem. It'd be a problem. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But from a creator to creator standpoint, like I should look at other creators and respect the fact that, hey, I'm not going to step on that. They've made a video that looks very similar to that. That would be kind of wild to take that and be like, hey, I really love that video. I'm going to make that mine, claim ownership, post it on my page, and get tons of following and support on it when that creator didn't even get noticed.
Yeah, I would say if it's a direct copy, no changes, that's a problem.
So, for instance, I cosplay Sleep Token characters, right?
Yeah.
As a Sleep Token cosplayer, if I were to create a piece of content for my page, like a video, a reel, a cover, whatever, if I was to create that, because I'm cosplaying Sleep Token, does that mean that I don't own that content?
Can I ask, is this because of what Sleep Token was doing?
No.
Okay. Because
It's more of a creator understanding other creators and trying to. There's been a lot of accusations about people cosplaying Sleep Token and they make videos and people take those videos and kind of copy them. And then
that's
the
the thing,
creators
'cause-
say, hey, that's not cool. And that's kind of.
I think your actual, like, what you're creating is, like, your own. That's, like, your thing. So, like, if you do a video, that's, like, you set it up and, like, you did, like, all the scripting and all that stuff, and someone takes it, like, yeah, no, that's copying someone else's
Yeah.
work.
I would agree.
But I also think, like, obviously, if you're doing a character from an IP, like, that
Right.
actual IP is, like,
But if I was to do like some really crazy vocal cover, have lighting set up, a certain like microphone set up or something like that,
that's your work.
that would be mine. Right. So like as a creator, like if you put something out there and it kind of falls on other creators to be respectful of you
Yes.
and understand that, hey, this is out there, therefore I should probably not do something that looks similar because that puts me in a bad position.
Yeah.
Or if you do it similar, like, you have to add your own changes. Like, you have to make it personal.
Right.
Even like think about it. Even like professional artists outside of cosplay, Rage Against the Machine has an entire cover album, and even though it's not their original songs, like their cover of like that's still their work,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
And so I think as long as you're putting your own spin on it, like that's where it becomes an issue. But it does get like frustrating when you see people like just copying someone else's idea repeatedly.
Right. I would agree. I think creators need to be a little more understanding of each other.
Yeah.
And not be so quick to judge. Just because you're in Sleep Token doesn't mean you're not creative or own the content that you create.
I will
We're all
also say a
cos-
lot of people get selfish, like, oh, I did this, so I own it, and
But the entire thing of cosplay is you're using someone else's IP and then making your own work out of it.
Right.
So I
You're
think
putting
it's
yourself in a niche little
Exactly.
area.
So I think like as long as you're making it your own, and then like haters gonna hate, they can deal with it. But as long as you're doing your own like independent, like you're being creative, like you're owning that. That's yours.
The question is going around like if you're cosplaying a content or a character that is IP like Sleep Token, you can't really own your own content because you don't own the original content. However, if you create your own content in a way that's niche to your platform or your project, I feel like you kind of own like what you create there.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
I agree because in a way any kind of cosplay is like you are expressing yourself through like the inspiration of a creation. So that's like saying, oh, you don't own your art, like the art that you're making of a character is, you know, not yours because it's someone else's IP. Like you are using it as an expression, and to me cosplaying is like you're just taking what exists already and you are putting it into your own, like breathing into life and expression through yourself. So it is still your content. Like you are your photos of, you know, even if it's of someone else, it's still yours, in my opinion at least.
So like if someone was to say like, hey, like you know, hey, I made this content, and then somebody kind of took that and was like, hey, like replicated it to an extent. It's like, yeah, and you were like, hey, like, you know, why would that be okay or not okay? Like, when does that line get drawn?
I think it's hard sometimes because I've seen cases where clearly someone took inspiration from someone else, and it's very obvious, like either they looked at their progress and created something the exact same way, or they did their makeup the exact same way, where it's, you know, an expressive form, but it's clearly it's not their original thought, you know?
Right.
I think sometimes it can be, you can see that like people are actually taking from you, like taking your expression. And I feel because it's, like I said, it's like it's your content, it's separate from the IP itself. It's still like if someone's copying what you've created of that IP, like it's still copying it to some degree, because you can tell when someone is directly mirroring
Oh
what
yeah,
you're doing.
100%.
Yeah. So
And like,
yeah,
no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
of course.
Cosplaying a character, you know, like, so for me, cosplaying 2 from Sleep Token,
right.
if I was to make content in this, would that mean that content is, you know, I don't own the creative, like, the idea behind the content or any of the actual, like, obviously I don't own 2 from Sleep Token.
Right.
But the content that I create from that, for my page, for my niche, for whatever, that is something that should be respected by other creators, and like, hey, like, I'm not going to take that content, I'm not going to copy that style of video that you do, to, you know, to an extent. There's obviously respect.
If it's the same exact cosplay and like whatever the meme you did is, that's where I'd say at least like tag credit, at least bare minimum. But if you're just full on stealing it, like I know like a lot of skits and bits that get done, especially when it's your own diverse skit that you came up with and someone copies that bar for bar, that's not correct. I don't agree with that.
So I think like if someone was to make a piece of work, or say you made a piece of work, right?
Okay.
And then I was like, hey, I really like that. And I kind of took it, but like said I made it my own by like changing a light position or something like that. Obviously taking a lot of the creative inspiration from you, claiming it was your own work. And then when confronted about said thing, you know, turn tail and be like, oh man, and then block that creator. Like, how would that
that's
make
not
you feel?
okay. Yeah, that would piss me off. That would PMO me off for sure.
So, all right, so I'm just posing the question again. So for creators who are creating content with their cosplay characters being IP-based characters, video game characters, music characters, things like that, things where they don't exactly own the IP, do creators still own their original content ideas that they create for their project that sets them apart from other creators?
I definitely think that you own your creation. You own what you create. The difference in that is when you say it's original. If you say it's an original character, then that's the problem. But when you give credits to what you're cosplaying or what you're making and it's something else, then there's no problem as long as you're not taking ownership of the thing itself. But you have rights to your own creation, you have rights to your content, you have rights to the cosplay that you made. It's definitely yours and you have ownership.
So if you were to make a video and I was to turn around and be like, hey, I really like how you did your video, take it and not credit you, how would that make you feel?
Can you rephrase that?
So if you made a video and I really liked the way that it looked,
yes,
and I made it in my own way to clarify, basically took it and changed the lighting arrangement or changed the color of a light, but it was still a very identifiable thing in your video that is now in my video.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely there's two sides. It's your video and you made it, but you gotta give credit where credit is due.
Right, so credit the original creators.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Because and if that creator was to, let's just say, turn around and say, no, I didn't do that, and then block you, how would that make you feel?
I don't know. I think I'd feel, I don't know if I'd be angry immediately, but I'd feel upset. Like, I would want someone to hear me out and listen to me and work towards a solution, but blocking immediately is like you're refusing accountability, and you're looking up to me and refusing accountability. That would upset me.
How do you feel property, from content from creators is kind of categorized with, like me being a Sleep Token cosplayer? Do I have the rights to my own content that I create and the styles that I created, essentially?
So I'll talk about it from two perspectives.
Okay.
One, from a legal perspective, yes, you do, because copyrights themselves have like a few different layers to them. But even if you have a character itself copyrighted, you have like the idea of it. You don't have the right to others' expression within the character. So if someone dresses up as the character and creates content, their personal expression and their artistry with that is completely owned by themselves.
Okay.
From a personal perspective, everyone's working hard on their own content. Like, just because you're dressed as a character doesn't mean that that company has ownership of your actions. The same way a cosplayer is not that character, your content is not that original show's content. So you're generating your ideas, you're coming up with whether it's like funny skits, funny phrases, just things that keep people entertained. That is your own creation and your own ideas. Like, there are trends where people do similar things. And I mean, that's the name of the game. People like see something and like, oh, this gives me an idea to do something I can relate to and cool with it. Mm-hmm. So it happens between people using similar types of content all the time.
Right. And credit your creators, all that good stuff.
Exactly.
And
you just credit where it's from.
But when someone does reach or overstep those bounds and clearly copies something that somebody has worked hard on, it's brought to the attention of that creator makes a statement about it, and then said, incident happens where, I didn't, the denial, all this stuff happens, right? And then you're looking at it from a perspective like, I'm just trying to bring attention to the fact that my work was compromised in a way that I'm not comfortable with. And if you were in those shoes, I guess how would you feel if somebody took your content and then said, I didn't do that and I don't care what you think?
This is going to be a weird response because it's not just straight on the ethics of it. It would honestly depend on the reach of their size and if they're using my specific content for their gain in that sense.
What if they were about four times bigger than you?
If they were much larger and they were using it for their gain and not crediting, I'd shoot them a message. I'd be like, hey, this was my idea. If you could credit me, I'd greatly appreciate it. Only if it's like strictly me originally, like they're very copying. I mean, if it's something similar, that happens. I have nothing wrong with that, But if they're like direct copying and it's like very like, it's intended to utilize what I did for their personal gain, I would shoot them as like, hey, if you could credit me, that would be appreciated on stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if it's someone who's just like not much size at all and stuff, like while I believe like the behavior should be like talked about and stuff like that, I might just shoot them a message. But if anything got to a bad point, I wouldn't post about it online because it would impact me negatively to do so, even though that they should take responsibility for their actions. If they're very, very big, and other people are all seeing this and assuming that it's their idea and stuff, and that's something they're doing. I assume they're going to be doing it with a lot of creators who are just very small, and taking other people's work and using it for their own personal gain is not something that someone should be able to do, because it's just not their work. So in that sense, that's someone who I'd call out for it, and I like, if they're not willing to like credit, I would make a video stating it, just because they are going to be stealing from other people's work continually for their own personal benefit, and it's not their original creations if it's like copying directly like that. Whereas if someone who's like very small, even if they're like very not respectful and whatnot, it's not worth the call out from my end, because it's not like they're going out stealing a million people's stuff, making money off of everyone's stuff. It's someone just probably doesn't realize how bad it is or whatnot, and try to give more leeway, because in the end of the day, if you try to make a big deal of that, you're creating more problems for yourself and entering into an extra drama, unfortunately.
So let's say this creator has been doing this for a while, but the smaller creators are too scared to speak up for themselves because they're worried about they're going to get canceled, or they're going to get, the fan base is going to turn on them, and they don't want to ruin their projects, and that's something that, that's understandable. But like, if you were a smaller creator dealing with a larger creator who was doing something like this to you, I guess, how would you handle it?
So if it was a larger creator like that, I would reach out to them, and I would be like, hey, if you don't mind crediting me, I'd really appreciate that.
Okay.
That was how I'd start it regardless.
Okay.
I want to thank you for taking the time to watch and listen, and I also want to invite you to share in this conversation. Whether you are a member of the fandom, a creator, a cosplayer, or an artist, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this topic, because the way the members of the community feel about it influences the way people behave regarding it. Duet or reshare this video, or use the hashtag That's My Content, and tell us your perspective. I'm truly looking forward to seeing where this conversation leads.